Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Awaken the World. We are live right now on the second day of September in the year 2021. It is 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Awaken the World group page. Rise up with, of course, the tiger, or me, or myself, or I, or any one of those sort of things. Lori, you're first up. Hi, Lori. Nice to see you. I barely get to say hi to you. Hi. Hey, listen, while you're there, we're going to Garhen tomorrow. It's going to be beautiful out. We're going to be on the public Provincial Park beach there by about 9:30 by the time we finish circumnavigating the lake. So, hey, if you want to show up, come on out. We'll have a couple of kayaks there. Just going to have fun. Play with my ducks. So if you got time, oh, you're working. Well, okay, that's not good then. Well, fine. Forget I said anything at all. So for the rest of you, and Lori too, good evening. How are you doing? My love to each and every one of you. You know, the understanding that everything's perfect with you right now. And that perfection is an evolving deal. There's never an end to perfection. You know, I notice the one thing everyone's always looking for is a finish line. And you haven't really thought clearly if you want a finish line, because, you know, it's like being behind the wheel of a race car. The thrill is in the race, not the finish line. When the finish line is hit, the race is done. The party's over. The fun is over. And that's never going to happen. And that's an absolute joy. So a couple things, I had a group member over, gave me a little bit of a hand today. We fed the group member as well. You know, it was Dallas. It was so nice to have him here again. And, you know, Dallas said something hilariously funny, and it was an interesting point. You know, he said, you know, I'm only two YouTube videos away from enlightenment. Which, on its face, you know, would seem absolutely ridiculous, and yet not ridiculous, and so many people approach enlightenment through YouTube, and not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing. And then he added something else. It's just which two videos. And that brings something about that we deal with in our lives every day, you know, is that the offer of enlightenment, the offer of awakening is... that same message is in the most profane and despicable things that we can contemplate and do, right through to the highest acts that we can take part of that are expressing the truths of creation, like love and joy and caring for one another. And it is worth reminding and remembering, and this is going to play right into the video of what we're going to talk about tonight, that same spirit of creation, that same divine presence, is in each and every one of us, not any greater or less. And what does that mean then? And this is where it plays into the video. And the video's discussion tonight is simply called Rise Up. And whenever I hear Rise Up, I'm reminded of an awesome old 80s tune. I can't even remember who sang it right now. It was a Canadian group, and it was Rise up, rise up, rise up and show your power. Spirit's time has come. You know, we want war to be done and peace to reign. And it's just an uplifting sort of song. And I'm thinking about that sort of rising up, a rising up in love and joy and compassion and in our personal truth, and bringing that to the world in the most compassionate and joyous and togetherness forming method that we can. And I've been very disturbed well, I'm already disturbed. I've been even more disturbed, and yet not disturbed. But simply, you know, being aware of what's happening at a higher level with this. So, you know, there's been a lot of protests in the last couple of days here in Canada, in British Columbia, and all over Canada, around mask mandates and around the vaccine and all these so-called, hot button topics. And all these people are gathering in front of a hospital of all places across the country. Apparently, there was some 5,000 people in front of Vancouver General Hospital. So much so that they're actually causing ambulances to not be able to get through into where they need to bring passengers through. So many people, so divisive, so separate in the way that they're communicating that they tried to tear a mask off a woman bringing her little daughter for a very important appointment at the hospital. Literally terrorizing the child in the process so that night the mother was still trying to calm that child so she can sleep over the experience. And you know what the child said to the mother? She said, "Mom, we can't dislike them for what they believe." Out of the mouth of babes comes the truth more often than not, And in that is the truth. And this is what I talk about standing for, not against. Whenever we stand against something, we invite that separatism, we invite that division, we invite the idea that somehow I know better than you, or you know better than I, or if I know better than you, then you're somehow less than I am. And if you know better than I, then I am somehow less than you are. This is what happens when we stand against things. And standing at a hospital of all places to complain about a mask mandate and a vaccine mandate is kind of like protesting gun ownership at a 7-Eleven. It's not the right location. You go to a 7-Eleven to protest Slurpees and brain freeze. You don't go to a 7-Eleven to protest gun violence. So in this case, this mob of people, they really shouldn't have been in front of their legislatures, the one who actually made the laws, the government, in this case, the provincial and the federal government. And it's okay to stand for things. I'm never saying don't stand for things. I am saying to you, rise up and show your power. Spirit's time has come, just like the lyrics. We should never buy into this thing that's happened to us. And Dallas and I were discussing outside as we were doing some work on the yard in preparation for the fall, and hopefully the surgery that I may or may not get this year due to the pandemic picking up again. And I'm perfectly okay with that. But, we were outside and we were discussing the whole picture of things and the way that we tend to, all of a sudden, it seems, be so divisive. When someone used to disagree with us, it was an opportunity to open into good, honest dialogue and to perhaps take on or expand our own point of view through being willing to listen to someone else's point of view in a spirit of friendship and harmony and togetherness. When did we start hating each other as human beings over whether you're wearing a mask or not? Why is it that a person who chooses to wear a mask for the safety of their grandmother is now a coward and barely even considered human by people who don't believe in masks? Why do people who do believe in masks think that all people who don't believe in masks are bloody idiots and should get what they deserve, die of COVID? I've heard it. I've seen it. We are being divided on every level throughout our politics, throughout the way we view things in the world. We're being pressed on issue after issue to keep us divided. And as we were talking today, we can go right back at the end of the Second World War and the start of the Cold War and everything that happened with the red threat. I lived through all of that. The world was on edge. There were so many thousands upon thousands of nuclear weapons stockpiled on either side of the globe that, despite the politicians never seeming to realize it, all the rest of humanity knew there would be no victor in a nuclear exchange, that even the winner would be dead. It would just take longer and they'd suffer more. The ones who were lucky would actually be the ones who went right away. And when the Cold War ended, there was an opportunity there. It comes out in the lyrics of the music, and if you lived through that time, you'll know what I'm talking about. That there was a moment when the Wall fell, and the Soviet Union was essentially no more. Communism had fallen away in that area, and of course the West was declaring that the East had been defeated. It wasn't about defeat. The point is for a brief moment there, the world celebrated and took a great sigh of relief, and there was almost a mass awakening. You could feel it. It came out of the lyrics of the music of the day. It came out of the celebrations and the sense of oneness. And it was also the time that the word terrorist began to appear in newspapers and in news coverage. It's a time that the togetherness would have caused us to become too powerful in the eyes of the greedy and the power corrupt, the most unconscious of us, the ones who feel they are in control over most of the commerce and literally most of the planet. So out of necessity, in order to keep us separated again, now began the reign of the terrorist state. And we've been living with that for the last 30 plus years now. And that has been morphing as those terrorist states are becoming less and less. Now we've been set to fighting each other within our own countries. We've been made to believe that a difference of opinion is a reason to hate and belittle and defile another human being. To not realize they are just as we are. So certainly we need to be able to speak out. We need to be able to stand for those things that we believe. But I would caution you, if you don't want to create more division, and if you wish instead to bring people closer together, speak your truth as compassionately and lovingly as you can in the given moment. Always remember that yours is but a viewpoint, as is mine, as is everyone else's. And that there are truly no right viewpoints. They're just viewpoints. Just as there are truly no wrong viewpoints. Just viewpoints. And that can be hard to accept because we're very judgmental creatures. We love to judge. But we spend most of our time judging on appearances. We don't know the fear, we don't know the guilt, we don't know the other reasons why that people are doing what they're doing. What we are always offered is the choice to choose for ourselves how to rise up in our own sense of personal power and stand for those things that we see the world needs more than ever right now. Not to stand against, not to cut down. The politician that sits in the office behind the desk and thinks about his power and cementing his position is a frightened child inside. Always afraid of losing that power and position. We have to... The way we fight against this separating, this divisiveness, the idea that because you think different than I do, that somehow you're not worthy of being a human anymore and I am, or vice versa, the only way to end this is to stand for unity, to stand for wholeness. to stand for oneness, to be able to look up at that person who would strike you down and you say, you know what? I love you, even if I'm going to have to stop you from doing that again. To not take it so personally when someone other's point of view does not match our own. To understand that indeed on this planet, all fingers are simply pointing at the moon. Not one of us are holding the moon. What does that mean? It means there's no truth here. There's just an expression trying to equate what we know of truth so far. And even the expression of that is that finger. It's not actually the moon itself. No description of our lives, no description of anything that's happening in our existence will ever replace the experience of it. And we know what it's like to be belittled. We know what it's like to be felt like we're made less of. Why would we ever put that on another member of humanity? Why would we put that on another one of God's children? Why would we separate and divide that which is all made of that same singular, magnificent, divine consciousness? No matter what you believe regarding the pandemic, regarding masks, regarding religion, regarding life, death, it's okay by me. They're yours, and I would never attempt to take them from you. But what I refuse to do is to belittle you or hate you or think less of you or take away rights from you simply because you don't agree with my point of view. The more things are changing right now, all the fast changes that are happening, if you don't understand how much the world has sped up, how much humanity has been sliding down that cliff edge for the last couple of years, you'll understand more as time goes by, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, there is a species-wide alarm bell going off deep within our psyche. And that is the same connection to nature, the same natural communication that every other creature enjoys, and it's not covered by an egoic form that blankets the message. So just as deer will flee the area before an earthquake, sometimes as much as 24 hours before, but usually 4 to 6 hours before, as birds will fly away hours before and a storm will come in or another event. We too are being given an alarm bell, a warning message from nature itself, that we ourselves are that which we are at risk by. In other words, nature's not out to get us. We're really out to get ourselves right now. And as this accelerates, anxiety, nervousness, a little bit of fear and concern and worry for the future is going to become more and more natural and more expressed in our interactions. And it falls upon us. It falls upon those of us who see a little more deeply, who are maybe just a little more awake than our brother and sister beside us, our other fellow members of humanity, to rise up and be the light, to be the example through thought, word, and deed. It's tough. I gotta say it can really break my heart to see humanity going through this again, and this time with so many billions more on the planet. But at the same time, there is this beautiful gift, this beautiful opportunity we're being offered right now, and this is a worldwide calling. Every, you know, the whole system we live in right now is based on this concept of never-ending, uncontrolled growth. Do you know what the only thing in nature is that has that sort of mentality? A cancer cell. That's what cancer is. Cancer is rapid, uncontrolled growth. A runaway freight train of growth. And that's what we're being convinced is the right thing for our planet. What we're being offered right now, what we're being shown, what we're being given is an opportunity to stop, to look more deeply, to maybe care just a little less about ourselves and to start thinking a little more globally about every one of our brothers and sisters out there. That's what I mean by rising up. Being there, and I'm not waving my own flag here, okay? And there are many people who do far more than I do, so let's just be crystal clear about that. But the sheer number of people that I've been able to reach and help simply by putting myself out there on Facebook and on YouTube has amazed me over the last 3 years. And it wouldn't matter if it was 1 or 20. We can spend a whole life just to be here for one person. That's how valuable each and every one of us are. And this is what we all need right now more than ever. As we move forward, we're going to see more fear, more frustration, more people being disenfranchised, left homeless. My heart and my prayers and thoughts go out to all those people who've been affected by Hurricane Ida and the after effects. There are so many people in Louisiana right now who have no power, no water, no access to food, and the temperatures are still soaring into the 100-degree Fahrenheit range. If you look at the larger picture, if you see down the road, you know that no amount of money is going to defeat Mother Nature, and that the disasters will begin to culminate one on top of each other as we won't even recover from one disaster as another disaster is occurring in a different area. What will get humanity through this is our willingness to pull together and seeing each other as one. To put aside all our differences, to stop arguing about things, to stop trying to separate ourselves from one another, and realize that we are all that same divine spirit, that we are all children of that God or Creator, and that there isn't a single one of us who isn't worthy of feeling loved and feeling safe and feeling secure. And we're the ones with free will. God is not going to do this for us. There's not going to be any divine intervention. There's not going to be a fleet of UFOs showing up to tell us about all the things we've done wrong and fix it for us. Humanity would not grow. If you always do it for somebody, the person never learns. It's the same with the species. We have to get this lesson on our own. And every single one of us who've awakened to the truth that we are truly one, that God is reflected in each of us, that is that divine presence that looks out through each of our eyes and shines deep within our hearts. That's the message. That's the light that you can radiate. That's what heals the world. Not division, not standing up against anything else, but love and light. That's it, that's all. I promised myself I wasn't going to keep you long tonight. A couple beautiful days here. We're going to go to the lake tomorrow. If you're around Armstrong and you have a car, drive out to Garhen Provincial Park. We'll be there from 9:30 or so on in the morning until at least 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And, remember how deeply loved you are. Much love. We'll talk again. Namaste. Have a beautiful Thursday night. And we'll see you again very soon.